Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest in the Phase 3 Meet series. It's my pleasure to have Jon Harrison joining us today. Hi, John. You all right?
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Good, very well. I've gone for the casual
You are
Phase 3 look today.
very
Um,
relaxed.
I, uh, I cou- I couldn't get my hair sorted, and I just thought, you know what, stick a cap on. It's all good. Um, for those of you who don't know, John, done various director roles in a variety of kind of HR tech and tech organizations, including MHR, Unit 4, and is now the VP for services at of the UK-based FTSE 100 tech giant that is commonly known as Sage.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
how have you been, John? Strange times we find ourselves in.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's as you say, strange times. I've been okay. I'll be honest, I've struggled. I've been
Okay.
on a bit of a personal journey. I think I've spent my career traveling. I've spent up and
Yeah.
down all over. Luckily enough, I've traveled around the world, and this time being confined to a house. I mean, it's been great. I've spent
Yeah.
more time with my wife. I've cooked. um, I've just done the things I never have time to do. But I've really been on this personal journey of what's next. And I think
Yeah.
the inability to plan or understand I've really struggled with it actually. Plus, obviously I'm based down in the south.
Yeah.
Our corporate offices and the majority of my team based up in Newcastle.
Of course.
So I haven't seen them for 6, 7 months, um, and I think we've really tested the limits of what's possible with technology, but actually
Yeah.
also shown what can be done if you apply yourself. But
Yep.
yeah, it's been far from easy.
And have you found yourself kind of missing the travel? Because it seems to be like a mixed bag at the moment. Some people are just so glad that they don't have to do it.
Mm,
But some people, like you said, you've been doing it for it's just autopilot,
yeah.
getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, getting out, plane, train, automobile, whatever it is, and getting to where you need to be. Are you finding yourself that actually you're really missing that aspect?
Yeah, I really have actually. I mean, it's weird. It took me a couple of weeks to get my sleep pattern back because, like, you're right. I was up at 4:30. I was on a flight at 7.
Yeah.
Back home at 10 at night, or a train or whatever it was. So it took me a couple of weeks to get used to that. But what it's proved to me is I don't need to travel as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
Um, and I think what we've seen throughout this pandemic is that tech has really been the basis for a lot of organizations. Cloud technology has really shown the art of the possible.
Yeah.
Um, don't get me wrong, it's also it's also shown its limitations.
Yeah.
Um, and there are absolutely things that I would rather have done in a room with a whiteboard, um,
Yeah.
and my team around me. But I think overall, I'd say it's been a positive experience from looking at the art of the possible,
Yeah.
and what can be achieved if the company and individuals within the company put their mind to it.
Yeah.
We've really seen some creativity, I would suggest, in what we've managed to achieve, and also how we've managed to keep in touch. With the teams and as a leadership team as well.
Yeah.
We've seen everything from charity sessions being done online to discos to virtual bake-offs. I mean, you
Yeah.
name it. Uh,
Does
so
it does it feel like I guess I'm speaking from my own experience here at Phase 3 a little bit, but does it feel like we've reached the kind of peak of that creativity though? Like you said, the limitations of technology. It feels like we've reached the top of that kind of bell curve, and we're
mm,
kind of at the top and maybe on the way down now, rather than does it feel like that to you guys?
yeah, funny enough, we were talking about this yesterday. One of the big areas that I've been asking the team to really focus on is this health and wellness,
Yeah.
and really engage with people. And I think you're right. I think if you look at the start of this, where it was a novelty for many people, to
Yeah.
work at home, we, our customer service team in Newcastle, we have around about 550 people,
Yeah.
and in the space of 10 days, they were all sent home.
Yeah.
Um, and for many of them, it was look at me, you know. Um, I'm doing my work and I'm at home. And we actually saw, this is a true story, we actually saw a peak of our internet usage with people going onto Netflix, you know, and people, but we saw absolutely no degradation of service.
Yeah.
But I think to that point, you know, we very quickly got over that novelty.
Yeah.
And we really focused on engagement. We focused on mindfulness. We actually gave every employee in Sage a subscription to Headspace.
Okay, brilliant.
So they could spend some time really looking at themselves and just helping them adapt. So we provide all the tools. But then to your point, yeah, you know, we saw the virtual discos, we saw fancy dress teams calls, we saw online bingo and TikTok dance competitions. But I think you're right. I think as BAU has settled in, we're absolutely on the downward curve now. And I think what we've started to see is people are starting to struggle from a wellness perspective because they don't know what's next. They don't know what the plan is. You know, forget the corporate return to work plans. Every organisation has got those. But actually, is there going to be another wave? Is there going to be a local lockdown? What is next? Plus the fact, you know, people now this time of year, they want to go on holiday. They can't. Or, you know, they've actually got two jobs in many cases, because, you know, you've got your day job, but actually you've got carer responsibilities if you've got kids, or, you know, you're looking after a loved one.
Absolutely.
So that balance has played into it as well. So it's been a real learning curve for many people.
I do feel, I absolutely echo everything you said there, John. I feel the last kind of maybe 2 to 3 weeks in particular have seen that change. Whereas when, you know, the kids were not at school, for example, it was like, right, government saying school's going to open in September, everything's going to be fine. You thought, yeah, September, geez, miles away. You know, everything will be sorted by then. And now we're like a month away.
Exactly.
We're like the first few days of August here, and we're a month away. Now this talk of, well, actually schools might, I still think they will. And then people are trying to escape, like you say, do a UK staycation. I'm no different, you know, not planning on going anywhere abroad. Looked so bloody expensive. Number one, it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to mention a certain organisation, which, you know, has a centre in their name and also, you know, a park. But
clearly you can tell when it's a half term with them, can't you?
Oh my God. And you know, I do feel that some of those employee initiatives you mentioned around wellness and well-being engagement have been a big plus side of what we've seen over the last few months. But of course, there's been a huge downside. You can't beat face-to-face human interaction. And I think once the fun of it, the excitement of it, the newness of it kind of, you know, flattens, then it is the fear of the unknown, isn't it? We don't quite know. I mean, do you guys have plans to open? Have you opened any offices at the moment?
So no, we haven't. Yeah. We've been very cautious. I mean, look, we've thoroughly tested our continuity plans, obviously, and we've worked through return to office scenarios. But actually, the number one has always been colleague welfare throughout this entire process. It's been, actually, we've got to listen. We've got to listen to what the colleagues are telling us, and there's been numerous surveys. There's been numerous touch points. We did a survey a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was about 65%, 67% of colleagues said they were unsure or nervous about returning to an office.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to respect that. Because you want people to be productive, you want people to enjoy coming to work, and you know, you look at the current scenario. You know, you walk into an office, our office in Newcastle again. I think that capacity holds about 3,000. Yeah. With social distancing, you're probably looking at 400 or 500.
Yeah.
In there with the relevant restrictions. You know, it's not going to have the same feel. It's not going to have the same buzz about it. And I think that's a big consideration for when we do go back as well, is actually we can't break the culture. We can't stop those water cooler type discussions. The stuff that the magic comes from, right?
Absolutely.
So at the moment, we're not even thinking about it, and we probably won't look at it until, I would say, mid to late September, early October at the earliest.
Yeah.
And the other factor there is we're global, right? We've got locations in 23 countries, so everything's at a different speed or a different rate. So
Absolutely.
as well.
Well, just going back to Sage as a business. Obviously, most people watching this will know Sage are. They have an opinion of Sage, but even I, to be fair, as a partner, as a Sage People partner, wasn't truly aware of the kind of breadth of services and application of software that you guys actually offer. So why don't you just take a few minutes just to kind of break that down in terms of the different kind of areas that you guys operate in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a really fair point. Actually, a lot of people see the name Sage, and you instantly have one thought, which is, they kind of do. Well, actually, they do kind of accounting, and now we're being blamed for the entire coronavirus strategy and the fact that we didn't make certain decisions at a certain time. But we'll leave that. But I think the history here is important, right? We started as back in 1981. And we started as a tech company really focused on accounting software. But today it's much, much more than that. To your point, you're a partner with Sage People. So we now specialize in accounting and finance, but actually also people and payroll technology.
Yeah.
Our focus is the small and medium-sized business. So we've now got millions of customers across our 23 countries. We're a FTSE 100, as you mentioned. We joined the FTSE in '99, and we're now one of 2 FTSE tech companies.
Yep.
And in the UK, we've got about 3,000 colleagues, with about half in Newcastle. I think the association with accounting software is fair, but actually, if you look at the volumes we deal with, we pay around half the people that work in the private sector through our software.
Wow, that's amazing.
And globally, our recent estimates and statistics tell us $4.2 trillion moves through our software. So
just a couple of quid then.
Just a couple of quid. But with that scale comes, I would say, a level of responsibility, but also you have a voice. Right, so we work closely with business membership and support groups. We have close links with CBI and FSB, and we help to lobby the government on a range of issues that can impact business. The recent events are a prime example of that.
Yep.
I think if you look at the technology, what you started to see now is a shift towards what we call the Sage Business Cloud. Mm-hmm. And the Sage Business Cloud is a digital environment essentially for finance and people.
Yep.
And it's composed of platforms and applications and services which are really easy to connect, collaborate, and do business with. So you look at some of our native cloud products such as Sage Intacct or Accounting. These are really good examples of our native cloud products where we have APIs, feature-rich functionality, and programs for independent vendors to really connect through a strong marketplace. Mm-hmm. And then you have the likes of Sage People, which are an example of one of our applications. I think aligned to that as well, we've obviously got in the UK a significant legacy base, and a name a lot of organisations will know is Sage 50, which was kind of the core accounting package that really started Sage, and that covers accounting and payroll. And we have somewhere around 500,000 customers using Sage 50 at the moment. So it's quite a varied portfolio.
Yeah, and I'd recommend anyone who like me wasn't aware of this, just go on your website, go on the Sage website, and you'll probably be shocked and surprised by what these guys can actually cover. So you talked, obviously you're mainly aimed at SMEs and this, but you've got a lot of micro organization companies like Sage 50 products for accounts and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
What's been the feedback from some of those smaller customers in terms of how they've managed the pandemic and how your software has actually helped them?
It's really it's a really interesting point. So one of the things we did, we made a very, very early decision that we were going to do everything we can to connect with what the customers were saying and the feeling and the sentiment throughout the pandemic. So again, going back to the scale and the ability to influence. We carried out weekly polls throughout the pandemic,
Right.
so gauged thoughts and feelings and needs, and we connected with over 5,000 businesses. And out of that, we polled them again, and we kind of connected. I think it was about another 2,500 to really understand how they were feeling. We produced a report, which actually is on the website. I think it's called Survival, Resilience and Growth.
Okay.
And it really started to focus on the economic recovery. And what we're now starting to see is that it's gonna trigger a significant restructuring of workforce, where managerial roles are maybe up for consideration. Roles in London and the cost associated very much are a focus. I think what it also showed, though, is that SMEs are typically British about it all and quite bullish, right? They're bullish about the future. They're making bold moves with their processes, their productivity. One thing that was really interesting was the amount that expect to come out of this in a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Well, albeit it's not going to be until 21, but they expect to be profitable by the middle of next year. We've got to be mindful, though, that there is still a percentage there that they think they're handling the challenges well. But if a second wave were to come along, you've got 15 to 20% that are not confident that they could survive a further drop in revenue between now and the end of the year. I think the other big thing that's come forward, and I kind of touched on it earlier on, is the importance of technology. The digital adoption, the cloud-based software, when you've got 100% of your workforce at home, has really started to make a difference, and people are now understanding the need for digital adoption. And I think what that's really done for Sage is we were on the journey anyway to really start to look at digital engagement, and the concept of always on, I think, has never been more important. And again, this is something we saw whereby I touched on earlier, people have a couple of jobs, and that's exactly what we found over the past few months. You had smaller accountants or smaller business owners who were looking after their kids and their families during the day and then doing their day job in the evening or very early in the morning. So, we've had to adapt our services. We've done much more with digital, much more learning, much more enablement. But checking in, so far, I think we speak to about, we have 1 million interactions per month through our service function in the UK. Wow. And we undertook an exercise to speak to 250,000 customers in the next, I think it was from the beginning of June to the end of August. And the sentiment that we're getting says, what, customers are doing okay. They are bullish, but the importance of information, the lack of knowledge that was coming out, or the uncertainty or the interpretation of some of the guidelines and guidance around furlough, around JRS, it really didn't help. So we launched a Corona Hub in many ways. So it was a one-stop shop for people. And we published one article on JRS, and I think it had 250,000 hits in the space of 2-3 weeks. So people have this thirst for information.
So that's what's really working at the moment. Information sharing, knowledge sharing. I've seen people doing webinars, events like you and I are doing now, and calls like this, and recordings and seminars, and it's still aimed at kind of selling something, and they've just got the tone all wrong. They've got the tone all wrong. It's about, people want information, they want knowledge, and they want it shared. And what they then do with that is their decision to make. Like yourselves, we launched a furlough hub. Obviously we do a lot of payroll, so we launched a furlough hub on our site, and I think it's been the most visited page or pages, of our site in the last kind of six to 8 weeks. So that just goes to show you that there's so much content, relevant content out there. But again, the resilience of people, the proactivity of people has been there. The very British way we've dealt with this kind of, has been there. This series came out of lockdown. Because there's no chance I'd catch you otherwise.
Well, we tried that. But I think you're right. I think I think the other big thing that organizations need to remember is people will remember how you engage and how you interact. And when you're a SaaS cloud business and you're absolutely focused on retention and renewal, that customer success focus is the underpin, right? So we've made some very, very deliberate decisions, and removed the barriers to entry for people so they can access that information they need to make those informed decisions, and do what's right for their people, their business, their organizations.
You just touched upon customer success there, and I know you as an individual are all about customer success. Obviously, we've had that conversation a few times between us now, and with Sage having just so many customers, like you say, around the world, using a variety of different software, how do you manage that customer success piece? I'm really intrigued just from a size point of view, I suppose, how you actually kind of manage that so well.
It's a really good question, actually, and I think there's an important differential to be made around the customer base. And when you look at an organisation like Sage, you're right, our breadth of customers is huge. So we've made a very deliberate decision to look at our customers in two ways. There's our small segment, so those smaller SMEs, but then there's our medium segment. So those are the kind of 100, 200 employee plus type organisations, where their requirements are maybe a bit more sophisticated, a bit more in depth. And you can't treat them the same way. I cannot treat a 20-person retail organisation the same way as a multi-thousand manufacturing organisation. So over in the medium segment, those more complex, we have quite a defined customer success approach, really focused on executive engagement, strategic plans on a page, understanding I guess the desired outcome. What does the organisation want to achieve, and how can we help them get there? And we have dedicated resources, point-to-point executive relationships, that type of thing. On the small segment, you're right. How do you do that for 1 million customers? You can't. You just can't. So it's absolutely data-driven.
Has to be, doesn't it?
It's data-driven. It's focused on the digital journey. It's focused on the customers. What's the experience you want a customer to feel? What do you want them to see? What do you want them to do? So you have guided journeys, but it's focused on, it's still focused on the desired outcome. What's that customer? Why is that customer engaging with you? It won't be because they want to produce a report. It'll be because they need to achieve X outcome. So then, once you make sure that they've got the right application, it's then making sure they know how to use it. So how quickly can we drive that time to value? How quickly can we get that value exchange? So it's about free training. It's about enablement. It's making sure within a couple of hours, from a finance perspective, they can produce an invoice with their logo on it out the door. And then it's about, how do they adopt and use that over the lifetime of their engagement? So then throughout targeted interventions, using data, looking at their propensity to contact us. Where are the areas that they're either struggling or they could get more benefit? I use the analogy all the time around an iPhone, whereby, we've all got an Android, for those who are a bit weird, or an iPhone. But realistically, we use probably 20% of the functionality of this thing. Right? If we could unlock the other 80% of what an iPhone could do, it could change your life. It could make so many different facets of your life better or easier. But I don't know about it. So if I could unlock that value and show you what it could do, I'm going to be an iPhone fan for life. So it is a very, very different approach, but it has to be data driven. It has to be driven through journeys. It has to be targeted interventions. That being said, it's still not easy.
Continually changing. You have to, you can't say, right, this is customer success and just do that same thing for the next 2 or 3 years. It's continually changing, isn't it, as well?
It is.
Evolving.
To the point we made earlier on as well, I think customer success, it's the latest buzzword. It's the latest phrase. It's been around for a few years now. But it's more than just a function. It's more than just a way of working. It's a philosophy. And actually, we have within Sage, it's one of our kind of key pillars. We have 3 pillars, which we kind of build all of our values and behaviors and approach around. And one is customer success, one is colleague success, and the other is innovation. So, it's more than just a function. Is everything we're doing focused on that customer outcome?
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. And what does the future hold for Sage? Where are you guys going? What's your kind of, direction of travel? What are your kind of targets for the next few years now? I'm assuming probably impacted slightly due to the events of the last few months, but.
Yeah, I think like everybody, that we have we performed in line with our original expectations? No, but I think we recently released our Q3 results and we were pleased with what was achieved. I think for the immediate future, it's really focused on continuing on that journey to become a great SaaS business, delighting our customers and celebrating our colleagues. To be honest, I think we believe in the importance of representing the voices of our customers. So we'll continue to lobby the government. We'll continue to focus on issues that matter to the small business. But more importantly, I think we'll continue to focus on delivering products that help business operate more efficiently, more effectively, focus on productivity, and manage people's lives in a more engaged way. I think that's kind of the focus. Ultimately, our job is to help organizations thrive, and that's the immediate focus.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on to the bit more of a kind of quick fire type round. I don't know if I know you've seen a couple of the other videos, so you'll get the format for this. I've got to scrap one of the questions because you've already answered it: Apple or Samsung? Are you totally bought into Apple? Everything, like the AirPods, iPad, Macs, everything.
I'm a bit of a tech geek, to be honest.
Yeah,
and Apple, I don't know why, I just did. There was something about it. So I've got the MacBook. The iPods, I still haven't made the decision, to be honest, because I'm just like, really, 200 quid for a set of headphones? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But everything else, totally bought in.
You're just too far down the line now, aren't you, to change?
I'm too invested, and to be honest, just trying to understand how to unpick my photo library and iCloud, and I just can't even be bothered. So I'm in now, sadly.
It's interesting because if you read a lot of the reviews, they'll always say Samsung is actually the better phone.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. But it's almost that headache of how do I transfer this to that and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I got a new phone over the lockdown, do an upgrade, and you just put it next to each other, and boom, data goes across, job done. But half an hour later, you got your new phone sorted.
But the funny thing is, we spoke earlier on about the customer success thing and the recurring revenue. I mean, Apple have got it right? Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, brand, isn't it? It's brand as well, and everything about it. My wife got a new Samsung, and even as my kids like to call it, the unboxing experience. I was actually doing something the day I got my phone, and I couldn't open it for about 6 hours because I was just working, and I was doing maybe a couple of video call, whatever, and they couldn't believe that I hadn't rushed to this phone to unbox it. And I did it, and it's so nice, isn't it? Apple products, the whole experience is amazing. Samsung is not so good. A lot of paper in there. It doesn't feel nice to touch, does it? Little things like that.
The gratification of getting off that plastic from the screen. There's something about it. But
what's that? ASMR or something all the kids go on about now?
Oh, something like that.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, okay, right. So, which app do you use the most?
Which app do I use the most? Probably Sonos, actually.
Okay.
Followed by Twitter. I'm a bit nosy, but I use it as a mix of business and work. So.
Okay, good. And you probably answered this one: Twitter or LinkedIn?
I actually prefer LinkedIn, but I think Twitter is useful for being nosy and just for immediate. I was a bit of a Twitter phobe at first, but actually I started using it a lot for concert notifications or that type of thing, and I just started to get into it. But LinkedIn probably more. I think there's more value there.
There's I think it's easier to get engagement
Yes.
on LinkedIn than it is on Twitter. Twitter, I've been trying for a while. I've kind of stopped now because I just like snooping now,
exactly.
and interesting articles. And I've recently gone through all of my. I'm not that big on Facebook or anything like that, but on Twitter, I've just changed who I'm following because that's your library.
Yeah.
That's your online and if you follow junk, you're going to see junk basically. And I've just kind of taken off, unfollowed some people and kind of some companies and all this kind of stuff, and just following what I think, for me anyway, good quality content.
I think that's the thing. It's very personal, isn't it? I've never got into Instagram. I never got into Snapchat or all that stuff. But you're right.
You're not a TikToker.
Sadly, I'm not. I have been challenged to do it, but I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But you know what? If people want to do it, they fill your boots.
Quite a few kind of adults, for want of a better term, have got into it recently. Some of my mates, and they just send me this random. I mean, it's like it's semi funny, but it's not something that I can scroll up and down and just try and find. Kids messing about. Doesn't do it for me. Okay. Best thing about lockdown?
Spending time with my wife, getting my sleep pattern back, and cooking. I actually rediscovered the enjoyment of cooking.
Okay. What's your favourite dish that you can cook?
That I can cook? Oh God, no. I seem to be quite adept with various forms of mince. So
mince. Okay.
I can do a good chili. I can do a good lasagna, apparently.
Yeah.
And apparently I do a good roast.
Nice.
Well, so, but it's been nice to rediscover that. But yeah, I've quite enjoyed that.
Okay. Good. Favorite holiday destination?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, big fan of Hawaii. Sadly cancelled for this year.
Okay.
But
You've been a few times?
Been a couple of times. But it's the one place in the world where I've found that I really disconnect. I really shut down. I think
you're literally in the middle of nowhere.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, you're in the middle of nowhere in 11 hours behind everybody at home. So it's easy to disconnect. So I find I go over there and I really just stop. So yeah, I love it over there.
Okay, and sports wise, who do you follow sports wise? What kind of sport? What kind of team?
Oh, see, this is where you get abuse, don't you? Okay, so I'm a Chelsea supporter.
Yeah, you deserve all of the abuse you get. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
In rugby, I follow London Irish.
Okay.
And I do follow the Seattle Seahawks from the NFL perspective.
Okay. What got you into NFL?
Do you know what? When I was a kid, I remember, this is me showing my age now. When I was a kid, I remember my dad watching NFL on a Sunday night on Channel 4.
Right.
And he was always into the Patriots.
Yeah.
And eventually you just kind of fall into, this is kind of interesting once you understand it. And then years ago, I went to Wembley and I saw a game, and then I was lucky enough. We were on holiday actually over in Los Angeles, and Sarah, my wife, bought me a ticket to go and see a game over there. So, and it's just rolled from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So. Okay, and Chelsea, just because you're a London boy.
London boy, born and raised. Again, it was a close run thing when I was a little boy. Tottenham, Arsenal, or Chelsea. Chelsea were kind of the least favoured at the time.
Yeah.
So it was Arsenal or Tottenham, and my dad was a Man United fan for some reason.
Good man.
Well, yeah, I was waiting for you to say that, and then I was like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, I became a Chelsea supporter.
You didn't want to do what your father did.
Didn't want to do that.
Do you know what? My son, obviously, I'm a big Red, big United fan. My son's a City fan.
Is he?
Yeah, and I think he did it just intentionally, just to pee me off. But then I thought to myself, well, you'll probably have a good youth. You'd probably have a good childhood. I mean, maybe it's changing a little bit now after the results of this season, but you can always get tickets, and the stadium's closer to where we live. So Brucey bonus.
The United offices, you can see it from the Sage office in Manchester.
Salford Keys, you're in, aren't you? Yeah.
You can see it from over there, and look, you can't get away from the fact that it's imposing, and from what that team achieved a few years ago, you've got to give credit where credit's due. But not for me.
But you guys are actually you got some good stuff going on at the moment. You got some good signings, and I like Frank Lampard as an individual, as a guy actually, and obviously as a manager, he's still learning the trade. But
yeah, I agree. I think you got to look at what he's done this year. He did all right. He's done all right, all things considered. From what he's had to follow, you'd
Absolutely.
say okay. All right, Sunday, disappointing in terms of the loss, but it is what it is.
Yeah, cool. Okay. And then final question. This is based purely on what I'm seeing in your background here. Star Wars or Ghostbusters?
Oh, Ghostbusters every time.
Seriously?
Why wouldn't you?
But Ghostbusters is just like a couple of, well, I know they've done a remake, haven't they, recently, with an all-female cast. I've not seen it, something like that, I think. But obviously, there's a couple of movies there, and they were brilliant, the first one in particular. Star Wars is a whole different, it's like 9 of them. Well, granted, 3 of those were pretty rubbish as well, to be fair.
Do you know, I don't know, I can't tell you what it is, but there was something about Ghostbusters that I just instantly took to, and I've loved it ever since. So you're right, I've got the collectible figures there, and up there behind me, you probably can't see, I've got the firehouse, Ghostbusters firehouse.
Right, okay.
And I actually have some Ghostbusters rubber ducks somewhere as well. So yeah.
Maybe we should stop this recording just before you say too much, John.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's a real insight into the life of a sage VP, right? But no, I don't know why. I've always loved Ghostbusters, and there is a new version of the film coming out. It's been delayed, but there was a new remake, so quite excited.
I'll look out for that.
Educate yourself.
I'm going to have to now, John. Listen, mate, honestly, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are, even when you're not traveling up and down the country or around the globe. So I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best, obviously, all the team at Sage, and anyone who's watching this, please do subscribe to the Phase 3 LinkedIn page, the YouTube channel. You see all of our stuff. There's loads of content coming up, including the upcoming Festival of Knowledge, which is a 5-day event, 10 events over the course of the time across a variety of HR tech related activities. So keep a lookout for that kind of stuff. John, thank you so much, everybody. See you next time.
Pleasure. See you soon.